I know you
Yes.
voted against that that CR in the House yesterday. Why?
I mean, for the reasons you've heard a lot of people say, which is when you look at the what it would give the president the ability to do to mess with Social Security, mess with Medicaid, hurt Medicare, and a lot of our seniors, our veterans, our children. This to me is completely unacceptable, and I think, frankly, the debate should go to a different place. What we should do is put up, and I think there's a false choice out there, actually put up a third option, which many people have been pushing, which is a short-term extension through April, so that both sides can keep negotiating. I'm somebody who really believes you can solve problems when you actually sit at the table and talk to one another. As you know, this administration has not reached out their hand to the Democrats at all in these discussions. Finally, in the last days, there's beginning to have these discussions, and I think we should give the parties the time to sit down at the table and work this out.
But why do you think that 30 more days than the 30 days we're just through is going to make any difference?
Because I've been involved in a lot of these negotiations over these years, and these things tend to happen, as you know, when the clock is ticking. And I think giving everyone a few more days to actually get into it, we know what the issues are, we know what people's concerns are, and let's come up with an agreement together. I think just jamming the country and then gutting Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid, hurting our veterans and our children, and sticking to our seniors is totally unacceptable. And at the same time, this administration will be under a tremendous amount of pressure given their tariff policy, what's going on with people's 401ks and their savings, the chaos that's continuing to come out of Washington. And I think you're seeing the president's numbers go down, and people's anxieties around the country go up. So I think there's a backdrop that's changed in terms of where this administration is negotiating under, and people don't like the chaos. They want some certainty, and I think giving people a few more days to sit at the table and give us till the end of April, which is easy to do, that's the best answer here.
And so what would that process look like before Friday at midnight? And then what do you think the process will look like if there is a shutdown Friday at midnight?
Well, I think what you do is the Senate passes a short-term extension of current spending levels. So you're not putting all these other key programs like Medicare, Medicaid, and Social Security at risk. And then you call us back this week, and we'll have to go back to Washington, vote for it, and get it done. And I think that's the best outcome. So to me, I'm not. I know people are going back and forth on this, but I've talked to some of my colleagues, and many of us think that's the right answer here.
And Congressman, I know it's an issue that you've been working very closely on. You and a Republican colleague are warning about China's DeepSeek AI app. You're worried about a whole series of things you want to ban from government devices and more. What's your read on that?
Well, it's the number one downloaded app right now on Apple. We know it has full control as most companies do and apps do by the Chinese Communist Party, by the Chinese government. And you have a lot of people in the United States who are using this AI engine to search and to upload documents and get information, share information. And we already caught, and this was all public, the Chinese government and other parties putting code into DeepSeek to be able to capture information from Americans. And that's totally unacceptable. It puts our national security at risk and puts people's privacy at risk. So we're just wanted to make sure we sounded the alarm from a government perspective, Darren LaHood and I, and said, hey, you shouldn't be able to download this app on any government computer. We've also now written to governors in every state and asked them to do the same in their state governments. We've heard back from 6 so far who have said they're banning it in their state on their government devices. So that's the right move. We've got to be very vigilant here, especially when you're dealing with our number one adversary, who has one objective, which is to undermine our democracy and our freedom, to steal our IP and capture information on our families.
Congressman, if you would, to someone who is not as well versed on technology as you probably are, but how is something like this just allowed? I mean, if it is from the Chinese government, the regime that has the most disastrous human rights record, among the countries on earth. And then there's a creation of this, shadow company that says, oh, no, we're not. How is this stuff not front and center on people's interest and concerns?
Well, that's exactly why I'm here and why we're pushing for this, to let people know what's going on, like we did with TikTok, and many of us who said TikTok should be sold or banned. And as you know, this current administration keeps flip-flopping on that as well, because we know that to your point on human rights, if you search for Tiananmen Square on TikTok, you get positive news, right? Not the truth. There's a lot of anti-American sentiment on all these platforms, anti-democratic sentiment. So hate-filled speech that spews out all over these pages and sites. And so, when it comes to DeepSeek, it's the same concerns. It's capturing data of Americans, capturing information of whoever's using it. So if you have somebody in government using it, or frankly any individual citizen or a small business, we know the impact this can have. It's very dangerous, which is why we're sounding the alarm on this. And this is not the place, and we're encouraging people to be very aware. This is not the place to go to search when it comes to AI.